What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vova. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vova original show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vova app wherever you get your apps. Vova, voice over everything. Enjoyed the show.
Welcome back into the Scuffle show. This is episode 2. My name is Buster Scher, and as always, joined alongside Nick Swinmurn and Tatiana Suarez. We have a lot to talk about today, to go over some of the predictions that we had last week, some of our predictions for next week. It was an exciting fight. First, how are you guys?
Great.
Good.
My predictions, on the other hand, weren't great.
I think that's an understatement.
I'm 0-3.
I'm glad you got the strength and conditioning out of the way before the show to kind of tone down your rage a little bit about your first week.
It did help with my frustration, I gotta say.
Nice.
Yeah, those, the picks can keep you up at night for sure. You get a couple back-to-back wrong.
I don't know.
I
don't know if it was the picks that kept me up at night, or if it was the fact that my knee hurts. It could be a combination of both.
It could be either. There's nothing worse than realizing a couple of minutes into a fight that you picked wrong, and you know that you can't figure out why it wasn't clear.
It was headed down that path, and then it was not headed down that path, and then it was headed down that path. I'm talking about the Barboza fight. I don't know which fight you're talking.
Yeah, I was just talking about in general. I'm wrong a lot. So what was Buster was pumping up last week that the clear headliner of the weekend was Woodley Paul. We brought him a little bit back into. We've got a big fight in the UFC as well. In hindsight, which is the one that sticks out in your memory, Tatiana, when you think of last weekend? First thing that comes to mind: Woodley Paul or Giga and Barboza?
No, most definitely not Woodley Paul. It was most definitely Giga versus freaking Barboza. I mean, that fight was so technically amazing that I could watch that fight 20 times and not get tired of it. It was that great.
It was. And you rarely see both guys throwing everything full speed, full power the whole time. Every single punch was full speed, full power. It was crazy.
Yeah.
They were both so prepared. I mean, I remember staying up late at night, getting ready for a fight, and then it being over in 5 seconds.
Who were you fighting?
Who was I fighting?
No, I'm kidding.
Everybody. Every fight I've ever been in has ended in 5 seconds. Now, I couldn't tell you who won, but it's always over in 5 seconds. This was fun. And then I watched the highlights afterwards as well. But I would have to say the numbers would suggest that the fight of the week was Paul-Woodley. Why do we think that is?
I mean, most definitely because they wanted to see if Jake Paul. I didn't know which Paul it was at first second. Jake Paul could box with somebody that actually. I would never say that Woodley ever had hands. I would say he has power. So, but definitely that's probably why.
Yeah,
and
I think it's
the numbers suggest that most of them were really young. So,
yeah, I think that it does ring true. If you got someone that everyone either loves them or hate them, they're going to just bring more interest, right? If everyone loves someone or if everyone hates someone, it's good. But when you've got someone who's just divisive and everyone wants, half want to see him win, half want to see him lose, I think it's a good recipe for attention. And I did think, let's not skip over the UFC event. I mean, that was an amazing main event. I actually thought it did everything to not be overshadowed by the next night. Those guys just didn't have the name to the mass audience, but technically it was amazing. And then Woodley Paul was really fun. I actually really enjoyed it. I really wanted Tyron to win, and like it was the same thing as driving me crazy. Like pick up the pace, or like just But as a fan, you just want him to throw caution to the wind and go in there and knock someone out. But it was I was actually impressed with Jake Paul too. Like he was tired, but he was he had the heart and he kept going, and he's definitely trained. And I think it just shows that we need a. It actually kind of reminded me of Tough One, where like you didn't care how good they were in the overall world of MMA because I had no idea. All I knew was from watching the show at the time, and I think that was the only season where you didn't have any point of reference. Like I had no idea if these guys were world champions or newcomers, but you just liked one and didn't like the other, and so you just wanted to see them fight. And I think that was what made this. It's hard watching Giga and Barbosa to dislike either of them. They both seem likable. They're incredibly talented. It was kind of one of those ones where you cringe more for like, oh, I don't want either of these guys to get knocked out. I just want them, but
don't want anybody to get injured, right?
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, did not think that the main event was great for Paul and Woodley. I would have to say that I was very disappointed in the quality of the boxing there.
What about it?
I just feel like, one, I thought that there was going to be some improvements from Woodley, like maybe some footwork, working on the jab, some combinations, defensively, like, boxing, like having better defense. He was just, when I really break it down, I would have to say, one, he wasn't throwing his jab. Like I don't know if he didn't work on it. I don't know if he was just gun shy. I really don't know, but their jab wasn't there. And as your jab is going to help you find range to deliver the rest of your combination. He wasn't putting combinations together. Every single time Jake Paul came forward, he went straight back instead of angling off. There was just like no footwork, no boxing footwork to be shown. And not only that, but like, he was biting so hard on Jake Paul's feints. Like every single time Jake Paul feinted, he reacted to it. And with that said, like if Jake Paul actually learns how to use his feints to deliver combinations after, that's going to be great for him. But he just, if you think about it, like you're like, okay, he's throwing feints, but they're empty feints, and if he goes against a boxer that doesn't bite on those feints, like that could be trouble. I just feel like when he meets someone who actually knows how to box, it's not going to be the same as what we just saw on Saturday. Like it's going to be completely night and day. He's sitting there talking about fighting Canelo. Oh my God, I'd never want to see that, because Canelo's just going to like end him.
Well, Woodley does seem still convinced that all he's got to do is land a right hand. And then it's hard to figure out, is it he just convinced of that, or he just figures that's what I got and that's what I got to go with.
He got close at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, it's like if he would have stood a little bit closer to Jake Paul, like he, instead of biting on those feints, and like when Jake Paul would come in with combinations, like maybe roll out and throw a hard cross, or a combination following off of that. Like, I just felt like there was his boxing just didn't improve. Either it didn't improve or he just didn't show it, like if he was just like, oh, I don't want to get knocked out or something. Like he didn't take the opportunity or chances. Like maybe he didn't believe in himself. I have no idea. But
well, there's a rumor that it could end up being the 5th biggest pay-per-view in history. So I guess financially he'll do well. I got a question for you, Tatiana. When I watch Woodley, it's the same as I always throw these obscure references in. Efren Escudero, we used to sponsor him back in the day, and he was near the end of his UFC career. He would just dance around and waiting to punch. They'd go to the next round, and he's kind of waiting to engage. He gets to the next round. It just felt like as an uneducated viewer, and then he'd dance around, and the fight would end, and he'd be like, yeah, and then the decision would come saying that he lost, and the commentators would be saying, well, he didn't really throw many punches, and he would be so pissed off and surprised that it made you think he really does think that he was more active than he was. Is it like, as a fighter, do you have ever gone back and watched a fight and remembered in my head, okay, this is what the fight felt like. And then you watch it on TV and you think, wow, it felt like this, but it looked different. Does that happen? Because I feel like the same thing with Woodley, where he seems so surprised that he lost in a way, unless he's just, and I feel like he probably,
Unless he's just bullshit.
yeah, but he probably thinks he was like, do you only remember, like, do you just remember kind of parts? Cause like, oh, that was a highlight. I think I almost got him. And you kind of like, your brain just forgets about the fact that
I
there was
always
a lot of
like
downtime.
downplay like my performances. I never upplay my. It's so weird. Like I'll go and watch. Like I'll be like, man, like I did really terribly, and then I'll go and watch my fight, and I'm like, that's not what I remember it being. I remember it being like, oh, I should have done like during like right after the exchange, like I should have done this or I should have done that, and then I'll watch it and I'm like, oh, that's pretty good, and then it's just like I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like when I watch it back, I've never like. I've never thought, oh, like I won and didn't win. If you know what I mean? Like I didn't think like, oh, I won that round or whatever, but really I lost a round or something, you know, like I don't know.
Yeah. No, because I know for me,
I haven't had a lot of stand-up fights to tell you that.
Yeah. No, I know for me, I was trying to figure out like if I do a workout, or in college, we go play dunk ball on the short hoops, right? And you felt in your mind, I'm like, I'm a fucking monster. Like I am so smooth. I'm going 1,000 miles an hour. I'm flying through the air. And then you watch a video and you're like, what the fuck? Like I'm so slow. And that does not look like, you almost in your head, you're like, I wish people were watching right now because I am fucking cranking. And then you watch the video and you're like, thank God nobody's watching. There's no way I'm sharing that video.
Right. You only end up.
No way I'm sharing that video.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I think I do that like with like say, I don't know. Yeah, like I'll watch like something like maybe like a mid session. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. And then I'm like, oh my God, definitely not posting that. I thought I did better than that. Like if you felt it, you would know it was hard. Like,
speaking of posting, how does acupuncture compare to cupping on the pain level? I mean, I saw this last week you had cupping. This week you had like, I think it was acupuncture with something against it.
Actually it's dry needling. So they stick it into your muscle like pretty far.
Oh my God.
And then that connects to like they get the little metal things and then they do like a stem, like an E-stem, like electric stem on your muscle to get it to like contract. Let me just
Which one's worse?
It's I don't know. Cupping. So cupping, I was in a lot of pain. Like the first week, it was pretty, like it was really crunchy in there, and they were doing it, and I was not happy. It was almost like worse than my actual injury. It was like so painful. And then the needling, like yesterday, it like they stick it in and you could feel it like down your leg to like your foot. It feels like someone's stabbing you in your foot. And I was like sweating so bad. Both times I was sweating so bad. I was like, I'm sweating. And she's like, really? And then I get up and there's like a puddle underneath my legs. And she was like, oh my gosh, you were lying. I was like, no, I'm dying.
Yeah,
but I would say they're both terrible.
What would be worse? Cupping, dry needling, or getting I love Jake Paul tattooed?
Probably
most definitely I love Jake Paul.
So do you think it happens? Do we think Woodley gets the tattoo and they do the rematch? Do you think Woodley does the tattoo and he doesn't get a rematch, or he doesn't do the tattoo?
And doesn't do a rematch, I'm gonna sue. I would sue.
I guess the question should be better put this way though, because he got guaranteed $2 million plus percentage of pay-per-view. So would you get that tattooed on you for X dollars? And I think most people would do it.
I think he would. If it was the only way to get the fight, I think he probably would have done it. And I think if it's the only way to get the rematch, he probably will do it.
Trying to think of how that would look.
Where would you get it?
Is it Old English?
I think they had an example that was kind of cursive. And then Woodley's like, you see afterwards, he's all, I get to pick where it goes. Where they're like negotiating in the ring. And it's like, where would you put it? Like the bottom of your foot? I mean, it's like you want to put
Well,
it
he
somewhere.
said like you have to put it on your thigh or something.
Ah.
I mean,
And
that's
then,
not
and then
that
Woodley
bad.
said he was gonna put it next to his kids' names.
It reminds me of that tattoo nightmare show, or there was one where like one friend picks the tattoo the other one has to get, the other one picks it, and then they compare afterwards. And like, if one of them was mean and the other one wasn't, it's just like,
Well,
mayhem.
what he should really do is get it tattooed and then just put additional stuff around it to make it, look completely different or blend in with whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like once the joke's over, put something literally put something that covers it. Who's gonna say anything in 2 years, when that happens? Or if I were him, get a temporary tattoo.
So yeah, in reverse, if you were Jake Paul, would you put a clause in there that it's got to be checked every 3 months for X amount of time?
If I'm Jake Paul,
if he does that, he's so petty.
For the joke, yeah, but I don't think anything like that. There's any validity.
If Tyron gets a rematch, I swear he better do something. Like, this is like the most frustrating thing I've ever witnessed. I was just like, we're just watching the same crap that we've been seeing for years from him.
If that one hit, though, I forget what round it was in, where Jake fell against the ropes. If that had been a little bit further out, he would have fallen down, and who knows? He was pretty gassed there, but I think it was. I thought it was impressive that he was able to go, the distance in just his fourth fight, and the other the past two are first round knockouts.
Yeah, and he did power through exhaustion.
That's what's so upsetting. It's like if Tyron would have put the volume on this dude, I mean, I think it would have just been a different story, Like, I don't know. Like, he was tired, and Tyron's done that before. I mean, it's just like if he would have stuck a jab in this dude's face, he would have had to deal with the jab. That's tiring in itself. Jake Paul was the reason why he was so tired was because he was fighting backwards the entire time. I mean, he stayed pretty close to the ropes. He was sticking his jab a little bit, using footwork laterally. Like, I mean, I would say like definitely his jab's better, and like I wouldn't say his combinations look great because they don't, but his footwork is pretty decent for somebody who, I don't know how long he's been training. 2 years, 3 years? How long has it been?
I think like 3 or 4 years. How much more tiring is it to be the one backing up versus the one like grabbing the center of the
a lot more. It's a lot more tiring. I mean, think about it. We spend so much of our time walking forward. Like, we're made to walk forward. That's what we do, right? How often do you see someone walking backwards? Like, and so if you think about it, it's just like our muscles aren't programmed to go backwards all the time. So, I mean, that's what's when you see a fighter who could do that for 25 minutes, it's impressive.
Yeah, like if you're ever jogging outside and you just try going backwards for like 3 minutes, it's so tiring.
Yeah.
Especially backwards up a hill, and you're just like, I
mean, that's even worse. But
you're like, you might just fall up the hill.
Yeah, fall up.
So after the fight, after the fight, Jake Paul retired, and then he unretired the next day. God. And then
he retired after 4 fights.
He retired, but then he unretired the next day, and then today he called out Tim Tebow, former University of Florida quarterback, baseball player, football player.
Why am I not surprised by this? He's just
making money. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, that fight, if he's anything, he's smart. I mean, that fight would draw interest. It would be minimal risk. It's crazy.
I mean, Tim Tebow, does he train or something?
I don't think so. I think he's just kind of always down to do. He still wants to be something, right? So it was like baseball player. He got re-signed to be a tight end on the Jaguars. I think he might have got cut, is why he called him out. And then, but I think he just knows there'd be interest.
Got released.
I don't know. On a more serious fighter note, well, not more higher level. Let's say that higher level fighter note. Giga called out Max Holloway after the fight. I think that would be an exciting fight. What do you think about that one?
It would be exciting. I don't know how that fight's gonna go. It was really I was okay because I'm very surprised at how fast Giga is. Like, I mean, like, I thought that there would be a speed difference, but I would say I didn't think it was going to be a speed, like it wouldn't be on Giga's end. Like, I felt like Edson would be faster. And then we saw Giga pretty much doing what he does to other people. Like, he's just so much faster. His timing's great. He's very diverse. So that was the thing. Like, I thought he just had this like nice, really those nice kicks, but I didn't know he had like these fast spinning kicks. And I was just so impressed by his diversity and like how fast he was. And not only is he good offensively, but he's good defensively as well. Like, he checks kicks. They were checking each other's kicks, and I was sitting there like in pain. I was like, I can't believe that they're checking, and they were throwing hard kicks. So I was just thinking to myself, and then at one point Giga threw a body kick and Edson checked that kick, and I was like, oh my gosh, my shin hurts so bad. Just like thinking about how bad that would hurt. Because I mean, the first time I ever hit, like, I contacted with someone else's shin, I was like, oh, so that's what that feels like. Like, it doesn't feel great. And it wasn't even hard. Like, Edson threw a full power kick, the fast kicks that he always does, and Giga checked it. And I was just thinking, like, I'm surprised. Like, he probably has a dent, and they both have a dent in their shins right now. I have to believe it, which is just crazy.
Yeah, I do remember at one point thinking we're gonna have another broken leg if they keep kicking each other this hard.
My God, yeah, I was very worried about that. And then, it seemed like Giga won the first round, and then Edson started coming back, and then Giga was like, "Oh no," and he just turned it back on, and I was just like, "What? This is crazy." But yeah, I'm very interested in seeing Max versus Giga, as long as Max doesn't get hurt.
Max always has that. You always have that feeling that, like, because he's just not as powerful. You just feel like, oh, he's gonna. But he always he's slender. Yeah, but I always have that feeling with him. But he always kind of rises up and finds a way to just not take a ton of damage. The thing that worries
me a little bit about Max is he never checks kicks. He's very. Yeah. He always gets leg kicked. And with someone as diverse as Giga, I don't really know how that's going to go. Obviously, Max's boxing is great. I mean, I'm really interested in seeing that matchup. I actually think that's a great matchup for the fans. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think like this past weekend's Barboza versus Giga fight, those are the kind of fights that sort of, like, I didn't know too much about either of these guys before this, but these are the sorts of fights that put them on that next level. Right. And then it's just how they can self-promote, and that defines whether they either of them become a superstar.
Yeah.
But the fighting, I feel like that level has been reached. Now it's just a matter of how many people they get to watch them. So
yeah,
these fight, like Holloway fight, would be good. He's a pretty big name. I think it would draw in some a new crowd as well, and just put him in another sort of fighting fame level category, which is good for the exciting fights.
Yeah. Tatiana, I got another question for you. Why, when you brought up that Max doesn't check kicks, it's frustrating watching sometimes when you see, whether it's Nate Diaz or some of these guys where it's almost like they just decided, is it because they don't want to take the time to figure out how to do it all the time, or they just aren't worried about getting hurt, or they just, like, why do they, if someone kicks the crap out of your legs and you go away for 6 months and come back and you just let the next person kick at your legs the whole time? Like, why do guys do that?
Damn tough or what? Because I mean, we're talking about two tough men. Like, those guys are like, it takes a lot to put those dudes out. I mean, I don't think I've ever I don't think Max ever been knocked out? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, and Nate, like, shoot, you saw how the Masvidal fight went. I thought he was gonna go out. It just never. I'm like, dude, does this guy have a brain? I don't really know. Like,
Nope.
like it's so wild. Like, I'm like, he gets hit hard, and I just never see him go out. I'm just like, I don't even know what that guy feeds his brain, but
no one. Yeah,
I don't get it.
No one takes that. I mean, there's no like it's literally amazing. Like the amount of damage he took, and then to come back with like right at the end of the fight, and just you can't even tell who he is. He's just so messy, and then it's like just goes on the offensive, and it says like, I won. If we would have fought to death, I would have won. And like the whole crowd is like, he won. Look, he had a chance at the end. It's like,
oh, is that about Leon Edwards fight?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was just. I mean, he bleeds every freaking. If Nick Diaz or if Nate Diaz doesn't bleed, then he wasn't in the fight. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really insane just watching the decision making and the commitment too. Like, there's nobody in professional sports that's like him. I mean, he was meant to be in like the ancient Roman Colosseum era. Like, that's what he was made for. He just happens to be a UFC fighter. But
I agree.
He would win any fight to the death. Like, without
to the death.
He really would.
And he's like, he's just down to fight. You know, there's like, remember when him and Khabib got their cruise fought? He's just like, it doesn't matter where it is. He's got his little posse, and they're like, let's go wherever. It's amazing. But he
but it's a new meaning to DTF.
Yeah. Who do you think? Who would you like to see him fight next? I mean, I think it was Luque, right? What's his name? Vicente Luque called him out, and he's like, all right.
I most definitely don't want to see that.
Because
I'm just so worried because he's so powerful. Scary.
Yeah. But you can't take him out. You could knock him out. He'll just get back up. I
hope it's a 5-rounder.
I don't think that man can ever die either. I think he'll just pop right back up.
You know what that reminds me of? Freaking Tyson Fury when he got freaking knocked by
Wilder, and he got back up.
Wilder, and he just freaking rose from the dead. I was like, what the
yeah.
This is unreal. It's like, this isn't happening right now. I thought for sure he was not getting up. He was like the Undertaker, just like I was like, I don't know.
It's true though. Nate is the only person that can lose and still win.
I know.
Only one. Yeah. The only one.
He's the people's champ. Like, that's why.
Yeah. He is the people's champ. I just want him to get those paydays. I really wanted him to get that one more fight against Conor, just to get that huge payday.
I know.
And just do it again. So
plus, I wanted to see another fight between them. It was good, but you know, I was there for Conor 1 and 2, with Nate. And I remember the second time, I was just like, F him up! Like, I turned into like the biggest fan I could ever. Like, it was so funny. I had like no advice. It was just like, F him up, Nate. Like, I didn't care.
What was interesting to me was Conor was at the peak of his popularity, I guess, probably for 1 and 2, and we had a restaurant.
Yeah, there were so many Irish people there.
Yeah, but we threw an event in a restaurant, and the whole restaurant was for Nate, and it all of a sudden realized, like, and it was like standing room only, and everyone was like, they just wanted Nate to, and I was like, you started to realize through those fights, you know, before it was like, oh, who wants the red panty night or whatever Conor would say, and it's like, it takes 2 to make a fight that big, and I think. I still don't understand Dana White, why he underestimates Nate as far as like how much people want to see him fight, and like why he doesn't pay him more and keep him more active. But like,
yeah,
it's good to see. I just like to see the guys who've been around for a long time and like misunderstood, like super nice guys, and then just get those paydays and get the fans where it just doesn't matter. Like, he's literally the point where it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. If he everyone loves him, which is awesome.
He's gonna end up fighting Jake Paul, huh?
I don't think Dana White will ever let him. You know, that's the challenge. And with his boxing, I think Jake Paul would be in trouble because you're not going to knock him out. And Nate's Nate's
not
good boxer. He's a reward. Like,
That's
So-
a fight that I would pay to see,
Yeah, absolutely.
and he would
I would
get that payday.
I'd like to see him fight Poirier. They were supposed to fight before, and it fell apart. I think that would be
That's-
interesting.
Oh,
There's
I
no way
wanted
he-
to bring up the D-Rod Kevin
Oh,
Lee
yeah.
fight because you didn't even know who he was, and now you're like, I'm a fan.
That was awesome. Well, yeah, D-Rod's got that same kind of like going forward, exciting, fun to watch. Like I was like, how did I miss the fights where he was on? Like he's definitely on my like must watch
Yeah,
must watch list moving forward. So no, for sure he was
Absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah, like I feel like with him, like you're just like, okay, somebody's gonna get knocked out. I remember one fight, he got like kind of rocked, and we're like, whoa, and then all of a sudden he threw like a hard combination, pop, 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 and freaking knocked the dude out. I was like, what the? Like he's just one of those. He's like a Francis. Like he's just like he'll get rocked real quick, and then he'll be like, I'm good, and then throw a hard combination, and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's like.
The focus
just
you need
doesn't-
for that must be insane.
He's like, even though his brain's half there, he's still like fighting. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They're like, what
That's a
is
funny way of
happening? I'm
No, I
like,
definitely was like, how did I not know? He was exciting.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kevin Lee's like, like, I mean, everybody knows he's a good fighter. He's known.
Yeah.
And this was a good fight for, D-Rod. He took it on 2 weeks' notice, and he took the opportunity. I mean, he was like, they were like, oh, we need this fight, and he was like, oh, I'll do it, and then he goes and wins. And before he wasn't ranked, not many people knew about him, and then he goes against somebody, like Kevin Lee, and then now people are recognizing him. So I mean, good for him. He really took advantage of that opportunity, which is great. But I feel like he could be another fan favorite because he's always down to fight too.
Yeah, no, for sure he could.
Yeah.
What Buster, who's the heavyweight champ? Who's the UFC heavyweight champ?
When healthy, it's Ngannou.
I was just curious if it's so weird how he's the heavyweight champ. It was so exciting not that long ago. And then it's almost like he's forgotten. Now we got Cyril Gane. Did they announce that they're fighting, or did they say they might
no
fight?
one forgot about Francis. He's way too big to forget about.
But I mean, they forgot about him. Like they put an interim title, I think, based on what was it based on? He wasn't hurt, right? Was it just he didn't want to fight quickly?
He wanted money. He wanted more money.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then, which I think is fair.
Yeah. So now, who do you favor? Was it Gane or Ngannou?
Francis is so big that it's so hard.
He's bigger than the other guy still?
Huh?
He's still bigger than Gane or Gane? Is it Gane or Gane?
Absolutely. Gane's a smaller heavyweight, I believe. Like weight wise, I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah.
You want to look up who's our researcher?
Who versus
Brett, but he probably came unprepared again. Brett, you got a laptop handy? Can we get a dimensions on Ngannou and
Dimension?
Gane?
Look, so I've seen a lot of heavyweights, and the only one that I've ever been like, whoa, that guy's big, was Ngannou. And I've seen a lot of heavyweights, but I was still, every time I see him almost every day, and I'm still like, okay, so who's 6'4"? Ngannou?
Yeah. I believe
Brett, that wasn't very we're like, hey,
Yeah,
who's bigger out of these two guys?
Ngannou's
You just sent one height.
Ngannou's 6'4", 249. It's big. It's really big.
249. And what about Gane? Oh,
Gane,
he's
2
2 pounds heavier. That's it.
Nice. Well, that's it. Weigh in, Brett. That's it. Well, does Ngannou cut weight to make 265? No. Or yes?
No, if he weighs 249, because what's
Oh,
the
yeah.
Then he has to gain. Right.
No, he doesn't be under. Yeah. Who was the guy that cut? There was someone who cut.
I thought it was Ngannou. That's why I was confused.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but I was
oh, no,
surprised.
he was 249. Maybe he lost weight.
Mike, when I asked the question, my thought was more just not to assume Buster knew or didn't know. It's just, I felt like the UFC should do a little bit better job of everyone, reminding everyone who the heavyweight champion of the world is, right? If that's the baddest man on the planet, we should know. We shouldn't be having, I don't know. That was
right. It should be like the heavyweight in boxing, like Tyson's on top of it, or Ali or something like that. Where everybody knows it's on the cover of everything.
I mean, so much momentum after that last fight, and then just let it fizzle, have an interim belt, and it was just like, it just reminded me. I don't know why, like Nate reminded me of it, because it's like, why you're holding these guys out? Let them, just pay them what they need to pay, and the interest will be exponential.
Do we think though that it's become so much more of a star game on every level in boxing and in the UFC, as to where the titles mean less and it's more who can talk, win, and then beat anybody who comes in their way in any order, as opposed to what it used to be, where it was, you go the route that the sport suggests, and whoever wins is the most respected and loved. Whereas now it's like, even, some of these guys can lose a few fights, and then, you win one and you're on top of the world and everybody knows, but there's no belt associated with it.
I think that for me, like the perfect scenario as a fan, right, is the belts mean everything. You've got the champions, and like, that's the best fighter in that division, right? And then you've got the big fights where enough about them, you've seen them fight enough, you enjoy their personality or dislike their personality, that there can be massive fights where you could literally care less how close to the belt they are. You just want to see you want to see two guys fight because it's going to be exciting. And the thought of like, well, wait, this isn't for the championship doesn't matter, but then you're equally excited when you see the champion. So you can like separate the two. I think that's where I think that's probably really hard as a promoter to do and to maintain those things. But I feel like that's kind of it's like on the Showtime broadcast, they referred to Dustin Poirier as the UFC lightweight champion. And I couldn't figure out if they did that on purpose, to just kind of like throw confusion towards the UFC way because Poirier was there, or if they literally thought, oh, Poirier must be the champion, because even though Connor's 1-4 in his last 5 fights, there's still a bunch of people in the general public that think Connor's the champion, and like Poirier just beat him. It's like, so
people
I think
are still not like freaking. People are still like in delusion about Connor. It's crazy.
No, I mean it's literally, if you go in the comments on a thing, right? Those people will say like, oh, Connor should fight who called Connor? He was arguing with someone the other day I think it was Luque, and they're like, he would clearly just like he might kill him, and then in the comments, you got all the comments, people being like, come on, bro, you think you don't like, look what Connor did to Jose Aldo. You don't think it's like, what? Like, there's no,
and like
there's
145 pound Jose Aldo. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Who ended up going down to 135.
Yeah.
I remember in that
volumes for anything.
In that pre-fight press conference against Poirier, somebody told Connor to his face that he hadn't won a fight, in 4 years or 5
It's Obama's term.
Right. And and how could anybody be in a delusion where somebody who hasn't won in that long would be anywhere near a title? But again, does it really matter? That's the question.
I think the UFC needs to do a better job of segmenting these things off, right? Like, this is a grudge match, or this is just a big fight between two people you love or hate,
like a celebrity match, or it's like almost they're two different things.
Let's go back to our picks from last week. I don't think we've actually gone over this, but I believe
painful truth.
I believe there was 2 people that went 3-0 and 1 person that went 1-2. I got 1 right and 2 wrong. Buster came in, swept the board, 3-0, all correct picks. And Tatiana,
wait, what did he pick?
Came in at 0-3.
I thought he only picked Giga and
D-Rod
and Jake Paul.
Oh, you picked D-Rod too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're going on the honor system. I can't remember a week ago, but that's what Buster said.
Honor system.
Well, we can go back and check the tapes.
And then which one did you pick?
Please no.
I had Giga, and I lost on Woodley and I picked Kevin Lee, and you had the Russian guy, who was a 7-1 favorite. It was +7 or -700, and lost. And then you had
I would have
Woodley.
to say with that guy, I don't know what he was doing out there. I don't know what was going on. I was like, you are he was throwing some crazy stuff, but I was just like, it was reckless. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, oh boy, this is not going well. This was a bad pick. And then, even before he got got choked out or whatever, I was just like, he got choked, right?
I turned it on right when they were interviewing the other guy.
Pretty sure he got a
Missed that
submission.
fight. Yeah.
But which I'm not surprised that if Gerald was to win a certain way, that it would be through submission, because he has a lot of submissions. So that wasn't surprising. The surprising part was the guy was like, he reminded me of do you remember that guy, that Brazilian dude, who did like a backflip and then he ended up tiring out and then freaking lost to like some random guy? Everybody's like, oh my god, this guy's so exciting, does backflips during his fights. And like, he went and was doing all this crazy stuff, doing backflips off the freaking cage, doing a backflip and like going into the guy's like guard. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And he ended up getting so tired and he freaking lost the fight. And we're just like, what the hell just happened?
That's probably the worst thing to do right before a fight. Start doing backflips, push-ups.
No. During.
Oh, geez. That's even
During
worse.
the fight, he was doing backflips.
That's even worse.
All right. Speaking of changing directions, nice lead in there,
Michael
Tatiana.
Pereira is his name.
Yeah, I do remember him. It was like, oh shit, but I didn't remember, or oh wow, when he did it, because you don't see it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
In my head, I couldn't remember how it worked out. So,
and then the Ultimate Fighter went exactly how I said it was going to go.
Oh wait, we forgot about that. That was an amazing fight. That was really.
What did I say? I was like, well, the one guy has good stand-up, but the other guy has good stand-up, but the other guy has good ground game, and he could take the back, but the other guy could take the back, and he has good ground game. And then
when it started,
it was like back and forth the entire time, and I was like, see, pretty much how I said it was going to go.
When I started, and I do like the I love when they like the bigger backstory before, because I didn't watch much of the season, but like when it started, I thought the wrestler guy from Tacoma, I was like, well, he's going to win this. But then the other guy was just so exciting and fast and trying crazy stuff. Is Pretty Ricky? Is that his name?
Yeah, I don't know if his name's Pretty Ricky, but his name's Ricky Tercios. I don't know if his name's Pretty Ricky Tercios.
I thought it was something like that.
Probably.
I had Pretty Ricky in my head.
Maybe.
Yeah. So speaking about, we have to figure out something. We have to make a decision. This is going to be a really important decision for the length of the show. Are you currently 1 point behind Buster in the standings, or 3 points behind Buster in the standings? Like, does last week count as Buster has 3 points? You have 0.
Most definitely counts as 1.
Okay. So each week is going to count as 1 or 0.
1 point per week.
All right.
I'm okay with that.
Wait a minute. So, okay. So
you don't know if there's going to be 3 fights for us to bet on, right? I mean,
should it be first place gets 1 point, second place gets half a point, third place gets no points?
Yeah. In either scenario, how many points would Tatiana have? Let's go through in the first scenario, how many points would she have?
0.
And what about if we give a half point to second place? How many points would she have?
0.
Half a point, still 0, a quarter.
But Nick, you have half a point.
I have half a point. Sweet. All right. So this week I wrote down 2 picks. I don't know if you guys have a third one, but we've got Darren Till versus Derek Brunson. Darren Till's a favorite, -175, although I think he's like 1-3 in his last 4 fights. Derek Brunson,
it's like 9 years younger.
Derek Brunson's one of those guys, right, where when you expect it, it may not happen, and when you don't expect it, it happens. So it's a tricky one. And Darren Till is one of the kind of like I've always seen him as like exciting, but there's certain fighters that kind of get like anointed as like this is gonna happen for them, and I feel like he's one of those guys where it's like it's just like, it's just assumed that one day he will be a title contender and this, that, and the other, but
He's only lost
But
3
he's-
professional fights though, right?
it might be 3 out of his last 4, right? I think. Am I getting that right?
And he's still
What do you
the
think,
favorite.
Tatiana?
So I've been going back and forth here. This one's really difficult for me to choose because so Brunson, obviously he's gonna try to take him down and do his thing on the ground. Darren Till is gonna try to keep it standing. And I've talked to a few people about it. And one guy was like, no, I train with him. He's not going to panic.
Which guy?
Yeah,
Who are we
like,
talking about? Who
I
won't
just
panic?
don't
Brunson?
know. Oh, Derek Brunson.
Mm.
'Cause, you know, like when he starts getting hit, he panics a little, you know? Derek Brunson does. So I'm just not sure because I watched I watched Derek's last fight with Kevin Holland, and then I watched his fight with Edmund Shabazian, and I feel like Kevin at the time, like he was struggling with his takedowns, you know. So
Yeah, that was a weird fight.
yeah, but I mean, he every time I was on the feet, it just showed the difference in striking, you know. It's going to be interesting to see, like, how well Darren Till deals with Derek Brunson's chain wrestling because he has good shots, he has good upper body stuff. And I watched Darren Till's last fight with Kelvin Gastelum, which was a while ago. And the reason why I watched that fight was because I know that there was some grappling in there. And I felt like Kelvin got some good, easy takedowns. But also, when he got those takedowns, it was the last round, and that was 3 rounds. And and he set him up with his shots, you know, because I feel like Darren Till started getting a little bit more fatigued in the third. Obviously, Kelvin doesn't get fatigued, and you know, he was putting lots of combos in Darren's face, and then he used that to get in really deep on the shot. So it's gonna be interesting. I really have no idea. I can't even say definitively what my decision. Like if I were to bet, I wouldn't bet on the fight, just because I don't know for a fact. Like, you know, there's a fighters where you're like, I'm 100% confident this guy's gonna win. I'm just not.
I sort of feel like it can go either way as well. But his last 5, so he lost against Whitaker in this 5
Last
round.
year,
Yeah,
July of last year.
July. Then he beat Gastelum in 2019 November.
Yeah,
Lost against Masvidal in March of 2019.
that's when he got KO'd.
Yeah, lost against Woodley submission.
That's when he got
round.
KO'd.
Yeah, and then he beat Stephen Thompson in the fight before that. But that's all the way back in May 2018.
Yeah.
Some of the like the past record is tough because the guys that fight the best guys every fight, it's like there's a difference between going 1-3 against those guys and going 1-3 on the way up. But
yeah,
right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's obviously he's up there in the competition when it comes to, you know, like fighting, and like he's obviously one of the top tier fighters in the world. He's just had a tough run. I mean, if you lose to Bobby Knuckles, so there's no shame in that.
No,
you know.
I'd be horrified to stand in front of Whitaker for like 5 seconds.
I'd be horrified to stand in front of Izzy for 5 seconds.
Well, he might dance. He might dance for 5 seconds. Robert Whitaker would just wind up and just, you know.
Robert Whitaker would just wind up and throw a really awkward kick.
Yeah.
I can't think of any of these guys that I would want to stand in front of for 5 seconds.
So I was watching a video of Whitaker, and I wish we could bring it up, but there was a video of him as a kid doing like playing with his brother, fighting with his brother, like play fighting, I guess. He throws his punches and kicks the exact same It's so crazy to me. Like I was
That's
like,
great.
you haven't changed, not even a little bit. Like that is crazy. I was like, your form is like the same as when you were like 5.
And
That's
maybe you guys can throw that in the YouTube video. You guys could, maybe we could put that on top of the audio for that.
absolutely.
Sure. And in the future, if there ever is a video, we can pop it in on the Zoom.
Yeah. You guys will be amazed. Like I was like, what is going on? This is crazy. Like I definitely don't wrestle the same as I did when I was 5.
Shoot.
But
All right, so
he might have been older. Probably
We have to make our official predictions.
yeah, Tatiana really did circles around that one. Let's let her go last. You know what? The last pick of the show will be your pick for that fight. Buster, who do you got in that fight? Brunson or Till?
I have Till. He's 8 or 9 years younger. He has lost his last few, so that just means that he needs this one even more. I'm going with Till in this fight.
All right, I'm going to go with Brunson. I was born in England. Till is English. It does hurt me to do that, but I just feel like I don't know. Just have a feeling on that one. Tatiana, do you want to pick now, or do you want to wait until we're done with the other picks, then come back to this one, or do you want to just not pick, thereby having a very little chance of winning the week?
Yeah, that's
I don't even know any of the other people on the card, so it's gonna be really hard.
The only other one I wrote down was Patty Pimblett.
I'm gonna
The
go
hype
with
cage
Molly
warrior.
McCann because we're buds.
All right, who is she fighting?
I don't even know who she's fighting, but she's gonna kick her ass.
All right. Brett, can we get that in the
fight you had, Nick?
Patty the Baddie Pimblett? He's English
Patty
grappler.
the Patty.
Yeah. All hyped up, coming over from Cage Warriors. It's his UFC debut. He's
All
fighting
hyped up. Who's he
Luigi
fighting?
Vendramini. Luigi Vendramini.
Who's
So,
that?
I don't know. Patty's 16-3, slight favorite, minus 140. Luigi's 9-2, plus 120. Both grapplers, from what I understand.
Where's Luigi from? It's
Italy.
Sounds like
It's
an Italian.
Yeah.
Luigi.
Yeah, I think it's Italian. So who we got? I'm gonna go ahead and take Patty the Baddie.
Patty the
So I've
Baddie.
got Brunson and Patty. Who do
I'm
you guys
gonna
got?
go with Patty the Baddie.
All right, Buster.
This is a strategic pick.
I know. Now that we've made 1 point per week, now it's strategic because you could just like.
I'm gonna go with Patty as well to put more emphasis on my Darren Till pick.
All right. Now we have to, and then we've got to find the opponent here.
What
Brett?
is you got? If I win after like 10 weeks, does everybody have to get an I Love Buster tattoo?
Yep. I think it's a
It's a
fight,
1 week
a fight or a
temporary
tattoo, from what I remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We should do that. A temporary tattoo for 1 week that says "I love Buster" to whoever's
that's
in the
what we
last.
Only
like,
if
no.
whoever wins.
Right.
We
You
have
guys
to
could come
pick.
back. I doubt it, but could happen.
I doubt it.
All right, so we got Molly McCann versus, I don't know if it's Ji or Yi Yeon Kim. Tatiana's going with Molly. Buster, who you got? Brett, can we get some records? Can we get some background here? Molly's
Yeah,
10-4.
I'm pulling it
Kim
up.
is 9-3-2.
Same age. Kim is a little bit taller.
Were you surprised that Woodley and Paul had the same reach? I thought that was odd.
That is
Is.
odd.
Paul's what, 4 inches taller?
Yeah. And they announced it. They said they had the same reach. I thought that was strange. Anyways,
That must have been a lie.
it probably was. Yeah. It was probably making it seem like there was not a big size difference.
Anatomically, that doesn't sound right.
I'm gonna go with Molly as well on this one.
So if I go
Stop
with
trying
Molly
to
as
copy
well,
me, Buster.
wait a minute. If I go with Molly as well, then it all comes down to the Till Brunson fight, and that means that
Buster's being strategic here. He doesn't even believe in her.
yeah, that would mean that either
I
two of
don't
us
know
would
her.
win or one of
I
us.
don't know
would
her.
win.
I couldn't believe in her. It's just a business move here.
A business move.
All right, I'm gonna go with. I feel like it'd be mean to go against Tatiana's friend.
You better not. No, I'm just kidding.
You should go against it.
You know what? I'm going with Molly as well, and we're
Okay.
it's all coming down to Till Brunson.
You can't go against two English people.
That's true. I might not be able to visit
You're not gonna
visit there again.
You're no longer English.
When you fly into the country, they're gonna the TSA people or whomever's gonna be like, I watched that show.
Yeah.
Didn't you,
That's true.
I watched
two
the
fighters?
show.
The two draws on Kim are throwing me off. I want to know if it was
9-3-2, yeah.
All right, but if I were to take
All
Molly,
coming down to the last one. Wait, who did Tatiana pick in the Till fight?
she hasn't yet. So if I were to take Molly, it would mean that two of us are going to take either Brunson or Till. So either one person's going to win or two people are going to be tied for the win. What happens then? So would they each get a point, or would they each get half a point?
Each get has to be half a point. I feel like
Okay.
a 1-pointer has to be unanimous.
And would the second place person get a half point even though they were last?
No, yeah,
No. All right, I'm going to go with Molly just because I think this will put some drama on this week's picks. Tatiana, who you got?
Drama.
Till or Brunson? You're due. You're due for a
You
win.
go with Brunson.
Can I just pick somebody else? Can I pick a different fight?
Well, we did do this last week and it didn't work out very well.
Not for me, but for everybody else, it worked out well. Because I'm in last place.
Is there a personal relationship with Brunson or Till? Like, were you friends with them?
I feel like that's the
Well,
only thing that could exempt.
We're both like, we're like, they I mean, we're all coworkers here. Also, so which is kind of bad is like me and Molly we're really cool, but I always see Kim, I can't even say her name. Gian, I think that's how you say her name. I always see her at the PI, but she can't speak English, so she can't hear what I'm saying.
I guess we are putting you in a tough situation with these picks each week.
You are. Let me pick somebody else. Let me see if I know anybody.
All right, so if you
Let's
pick
go.
someone else,
Check
and
out
me and
the card.
Buster,
What's the card looking like, guys?
wait, hold on a second. If you pick someone else, and me and Buster both pick different people, and we've all agreed on the other two fights,
We could.
I guess that works. Yeah, but they'll either be someone would still have to win because either Buster or I will be wrong unless it's a draw, and then in that scenario, unless your fight's a draw,
right?
someone will win.
Boy, this is why we need more picks, more diversity.
Tom
Some weeks we'll have like 4 or 5, right?
Okay. I'm gonna go with Khalil Roundtree.
Okay, who? You know what? Do you want to swap this? I know you don't want to swap this fight. Well, let's do a bonus fight. So Buster and I will still pick the Till Brunson fight, and we'll all three pick this fight. Who's he fighting?
Who?
Khalil.
I don't know this guy.
Modestas Bukowskis.
Modestas Bukowskis.
What are the records? Let's look up the
11-4-0, and Khalil is 9-5-0.
What's the Modestas?
11-4-0.
11-4-0.
What's the co-main? The co-main is a heavyweight fight, right? But let's see.
Yeah,
We've got
Tom Aspinall and Sergey Spivak. If I'm remembering correctly, Tom Aspinall's a dog.
yeah, he's a pretty heavy favorite. He's minus 250.
No, right here he's 180.
Oh,
But I mean, Sergey, he has some power. But if I were to guess, I would say Tom.
all right. I'm going to take Modestas just to mix it up. I'll
Okay.
take Modestas. You've got Khalil. Buster, who you got?
In the light heavyweight Modestas Khalil fight?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Khalil.
All right, you guys are
5-0.
paving my way to victory here. The
Maybe my way to victory.
so because we all agreed on Molly, let's take that fight out because it doesn't, we all agreed, so it would be the same thing anyway. So we'll have the Khalil, Modestas. Did we all pick Patty as well?
I picked Patty and Tom.
Tom.
Getting
All right.
Tom.
Look, Okay, we're gonna go with 3 fights. We're gonna go with Khalil.
I'm gonna give you my whole card. Fight pick right here.
We're gonna go with Tom and Sergey. Buster, who you got? Tom or Sergey?
Sergey.
All right, I'm gonna go with Tom. And then we've got. So wait, that's 2 fights. Then we've got.
We're not doing Brunson until.
Well, we are, but okay. Well, we're still doing that one. You and I can get a plus or a minus. Tatiana can't get. It'll be even, so it can't hurt her or help her. So those are our 3 fights.
Yeah, this way I'm not gonna get in trouble because I don't know Tom or Sergey. I know Khalil, but I picked him, and I picked Molly, even though you guys didn't want to put that in there because you guys.
We all picked her.
These friendships might hurt you. It's something I've learned in sports cards. It's never invest in your friends.
I can't help it.
Do you have any of your cards, Tatiana? Your UFC cards?
Yeah.
How does it work when they send them to you to sign them? Do they say you can keep X amount, or do you?
Yes, they always let me keep a bunch. They're like, oh, here's an extra. So I have like 6 different cards.
Nice.
But I should like give them out to fans.
Yeah, or just keep them safe.
I would stick them in a safe and forget about them.
Yeah.
Or I could do that. I have a lot.
Fan outrage.
I have a lot, so I should probably give at least 1 out.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think between now and next week, we should have enough time to unravel what we just decided with these picks and try to make sense of it and come up with something where next week we can recap what actually happened. I think anyone listening, remember, any money you bet based on our picks are your own, and you can't bet on both fighters in a fight. It's not going to work out for you. So spend your money wisely.
Spend your money wisely.
And yeah, that was fun.
With that is the end of Scuffle show number 2. All the picks are in. I'm leading in the standings 1 point to Nick's 0.5 and Tatiana's 0. We'll see what happens next week. I feel pretty good about it, and I think everybody does about their picks. So without any further ado, enjoy the fight card, and we'll be back next week.
Forward.